is a snowboard.
Yeah, it's not about winning, it's about going out there snowboarding with your friends. Big is high. I'll be snowboarding forever.
And all because the lady loves Cadbury's milk tray.
In 1975, I took out a savings plan.
With Royal London?
Well, with Steve, really.
Year in and year out?
Those savings have grown, consistently.
And year in, year out?
He's been by to pick up the premiums. About once a month. So when I needed straightforward advice...
On money matters?
Steve's always been there.
To help sort things out?
Like how to pay for Sue's wedding.
So I'm always...
Dependable.
And I won't sell you a policy 1 minute.
And be gone the next.
Royal London, on hand for a lifetime's insurance needs.
After eating, dentists agree plaque acid weakens tooth enamel, but chewing Orbital Wriggles Extra stimulates saliva, which fights plaque acid and helps strengthen teeth against decay.
To keep your home fresh, try this Glade plug-in. Day after day of freshness, at the same strength and at the same rate. And after 45 days, you simply replace the cartridge. Plug-in potpourri plug-ins from Glade.
In tutti questi anni non mi è mai sembrato che sentissi la mancanza di una macchina.
No, infatti. Finora.
Mondeo. It makes all the difference.
I would never have dreamt about using anything other than a tampon. With Always, you do have a choice. It has this top sheet that leaves you feeling dry and that you can forget about it being there.
Thinner than any conventional towel, Always has a one-way dry weave top sheet, which draws virtually everything into the towel, so the surface stays fresh and dry.
It gave me a feeling that I didn't think it was possible to actually have from a pad.
Always Ultra. All you feel is fresh and dry.
Two women from different ends of town.
What do the wives have that I don't?
What does that hooker have that I don't have? Somebody stole my car. Then someone tried to kidnap me. Then someone else stole my purse.
Two women running from the mob.
Look, I don't like this any better than you do, but somebody's after both of us.
You don't suppose Donnie was cheating on us, do you?
Let's find out.
Two women employing tricks of the trade. Tonight at 10:40 on Anglia.
New on Anglia.
It's a show where we use hidden cameras to bring couples together in totally surprising ways.
Surprise proposal, starting Tuesday at 8:30.
And after the break, a look ahead to a new series in which Mike Smith and Sarah Green host a kind of swap shop for the 90s.
furniture. I fancy pine.
Well, how about a dresser? With plate grooves, fixed shelf, and a matching sideboard? No, yeah, a solid pine farmhouse table to go with them. Oh, free delivery.
How do you know so much about...
Just call me Mr. Chippendale.
I wish you were a Chippendale.
I fancy some new golf clubs.
Well, how about graphite chassis peripheral weighting design?
For a whole catalogue of answers, Argos takes care of it.
Air Canada's Executive First gives you the latest movies on your personal monitor. I prefer the old classics.
Air Canada. It's a breath of fresh air.
When crunchy roast nuts and delicious smooth chocolates collide inside M&M's, prepare for a taste explosion!
Vedete? Oh, excuse me.
Et auquel se trouve... Hé, le bus! Et pour la fille, accroche-toi, hein?
Has breakfast come to this? You want to feel good about what they eat. They want something fun. So give them Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Made with single grains of rice, not too sweet. And best of all, kids love it. Kellogg's Rice Krispies, breakfast without the showdown.
At Rover Dealers, we're including a year's free membership of our accident management program with every new Rover. One phone call and you can leave everything for us to sort out. And we mean everything. Leave it to your Rover dealer and it should seem like your accident never happened.
You know why I always have Tic Tac with me? Simple. Because one tiny Tic Tac refreshes my breath for 2 hours, and Tic Tac is only 2 calories. So I can have 2 hours of Tic Tac freshness in just 2 calories. Great, huh?
Tic Tac. 2 hours of freshness in just 2 calories.
Undercover Britain is back with your own secretly filmed investigations, this time ranging from the taxi tout scam, a game of cat and mouse with the unsuspecting, to running bent, dangerous loads on our roads, and the drugs world of the syndicate. First in the series, enter the caravan nightmare.
There's no water and no power.
The abuses by site owners exposed.
Every new day meant a fresh struggle.
Undercover Britain returns Monday at 9:30 on 4.
Now on Anglia, news about a new series hosted by Mike Smith and Sarah Green, The Exchange. Well, I'm sorry about the slight delay there. I understand the programme's coming up just this very minute. In fact, I can see the clock ticking away now. Sarah Green and Mike Smith about The Exchange.
Hello, we're here to tell you about a fabulous, exciting new family show starting on ITV on Sunday, April the 23rd. It's called The Exchange.
And you can get involved right now.
You see, The Exchange is more than just a TV programme. It's a unique service that will also provide you with a lot of fun.
So how does it work? Well, most people have got something they've outgrown or just haven't got room for anymore. It doesn't matter what it is, how big, how small, weird or wonderful, as long as it's legal, of course.
So if you've got an old teddy bear or a grandfather clock, or anything at all you just don't want anymore, all you have to do is call this number, 0891 48 48 48. 0891 48 48 48.
When you get through, you'll hear a recorded message. In fact, you'll be talking directly to the exchange computer, but don't worry, it's quite friendly.
The computer will ask you for details of what you have to offer, the exchange you're looking for, and your address.
It's vitally important to make the description of what you have and what you want in exchange concise and precise. In fact, you'll probably find it easier to write down what you have to say before you pick up the phone.
What you tell the computer then goes directly into the exchange database. That's a vast computer record which can instantly find matching pairs of offers and put matching exchanges in touch with each other.
Meanwhile, we'll be looking out for the most interesting offers and successful exchanges and invite the people involved to appear on the show.
And we're going to cram the studio with all the wonderful items we can to show you what sort of exchanges are on offer. I mean, it could be a service like a scout group offering to do some gardening.
Or if it's something we can't bring to the studio, like a miniature railway, we might be able to bring the cameras to you.
In the meantime, the lines are open for you to make use of the exchange right now.
Here comes the number again, 0891 48 48 48.
And remember to write down what you have to say before you pick up the phone.
Our computer will ask you for your name, your address, your postcode, very important that one, and a phone number. Then we'll need a concise and precise description of what you've got on offer. Try to keep it to about 10 words. And finally, tell us what you want in exchange.
In the meantime, have a rummage around and get exchanging. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's 10 o'clock, and this is Anglia Television.
From ITN, News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
New talks herald a crucial stage in the peace process. Bank chief and his wife get backing from the Chancellor. Another day, another high street name crashes out. And why Britain's streets could soon look like this. Good evening. The Northern Ireland peace process took another step forward today when a government minister, Michael Ancram, met parties associated with loyalist paramilitaries for the first time. Sinn Féin said they could be talking by Friday, though Mr. Ancram said the government still wanted clearer assurances from them. His meeting today was with the Progressive Unionist Party and the Ulster Democratic Party. They talked about how guns could be surrendered, but Mr. Ancram was given no promises. ITN's Ireland correspondent Tom Bradby reports from Belfast.
This morning, Michael Ancram slipped in without stopping to talk to the press. The government's position on when ministers would talk to the terrorist groups hasn't always been entirely consistent. But today, after meeting the Loyalists for the first time, and only the Loyalists, Sinn Féin hasn't yet qualified, Mr. Ancram said he'd received private assurances.
As I say, the Loyalist parties provided us with those assurances. They said that they would discuss constructively and positively the elements of decommissioning, the ways in which decommissioning could take place. They did so today, so that it wasn't just an assurance they gave us, but they have in practice done so on an exploratory basis. We await to hear similar clear assurances from Sinn Féin before a minister can become involved in talks with them.
But if Mr. Ancram said he'd met the Loyalists because they were prepared to discuss the arms issue seriously, the Loyalists themselves said as they arrived this morning absolutely nothing had changed. Perhaps they were appealing to the more hardline elements in their own community, because afterwards it was clear there had been substantive discussions.
We talked about the legalities of it. What happens if someone's moving guns from A to B to be taken out of commission? What happens to the person if they're caught moving those guns? That's what we want to know.
Sinn Féin has written to the government, and Martin McGuinness expects to be talking to ministers soon.
I think that there's now a major expectation that British government ministers will, within days, be involved in discussions with representatives of Sinn Féin.
Even if ministers do talk to Sinn Féin this week, the arms issue is likely to be hard to resolve. In crude political terms, it is one of the few bargaining chips the terrorist groups have to give in return for the many things they want, including the release of all their prisoners. But it's clear now the government is going to keep up the pressure, arguing that if they want to be taken seriously as constitutional parties, then they've got to give up their weapons. And all this on a day when 400 soldiers on emergency deployment returned home, the first significant departure since the ceasefires. Tom Bradby, News at 10 in Belfast.
The Chancellor Kenneth Clarke said today it was absurd that the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, Rupert Pennant-Ray, had been hounded out of his job over an extramarital affair. He said he didn't see any reason for him to leave public life. Today, Mr. Pennant-Ray was clearing his desk. The bank said he wouldn't be getting a golden handshake. Our political correspondent John Draper reports.
The government had maintained an official line of saying nothing about Mr. Pennant-Ray's resignation, which followed revelations about his relationship with the financial journalist Mary Ellen Sinan, seen here on an Irish television discussion programme recorded some years ago.
People like McDonnell Douglas are not expected to make a lot of money out of this.
Today, the Chancellor gave the government's first public comment about the resignation.
Well, you know, I'm personally just very sorry to lose an extremely good Deputy Governor of the Bank of England in that way, and those who are responsible for hounding him out of office must ask themselves what public good they think they've done.
So did the Chancellor ask him to stay?
I made it quite clear to him, as far as I was concerned, he could stay. Absolutely clear. I think it is absurd to lose the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England because some newspaper wishes to print stories about his private life.
Mrs. Pennant-Ray read those words of support in her evening paper, but wouldn't make any comment. But inside the London Evening Standard, Miss Sinan was giving her side of the story, writing, "Rupert and all the lying and all the broken promises have made my life wretched for long enough." And she added, "I can feel pity for him today, but tomorrow I'll remember his cruelty to me." In the city, there were mixed feelings about Mr. Pennant-Ray.
Not the sort of thing that people with those sort of jobs really do. And I think it's absolutely appalling. I mean, the chap's got no morals or anything, really.
He should be left in there to do his job and perhaps left alone.
Previously, Downing Street had refused to comment on the resignation, but tonight the Prime Minister's office appeared to reflect the concern expressed by Mr. Clarke, a spokesman commenting that it was always regrettable when someone had to resign. John Draper, News at 10, Westminster.
The Dewhurst's chain of butcher shops, another traditional name on the high street, will close unless it can find a new owner. Its parent company, Union International, owned by the Vesti family, went into receivership today. Dewhurst, with 300 shops, has been fighting a losing battle against the supermarkets. Our business correspondent Mark Webster reports.
Dewhurst's shops, like this one in Manchester, have been fighting an uphill battle for survival. Thousands of staff could now lose their jobs unless a buyer is found. But the future for the butcher's chain looks bleak.
The thing is that Sainsbury and Tesco have invested heavily in the systems and distribution facilities so that they can get fresh food, fresh meat, fresh vegetables into their stores in peak condition and offer them relatively cheaply.
3 years ago, Dewhurst closed 600 shops and shed 1,500 jobs in a bid to slim down and compete with the supermarkets. They failed. Sales of meat in high street butcher shops dropped dramatically during the last decade, lost to supermarkets. Traditional butchers sold 41% of meat in 1984, supermarkets 33%. By last year, that position had reversed. The butcher share was down to 22%, while the supermarkets rose to 60%. The number of butcher shops has also dropped, from 22,000 in 1984 to 12,000 in 93. While Dewhurst's existing management clearly saw no way out of their increasing losses, there is a chance that some or all of the group may be bought by someone else. After all, following the collapse of Pentos, both Dillons and Ryman's were bought as going concerns. What's against them is the changing face of shopping in Britain, with an increasing accent on out-of-town shopping, spelling growing problems for the high street. Lord Vesti's family, which owns Dewhurst, was once the richest in Britain. Back in the 80s, he led the campaign to save Aintree and the Grand National. Since then, family fortunes have declined. They now come in as only the 17th wealthiest. The Vestis have also had their share of bad publicity. In the late 70s, on group profits of £4 million, they paid £10 in tax. And while the group's employees pray for a buyer, the family's been fighting a bitter feud over the carcass of the business. Mark Webster, News at 10, The City.
The Labour leader Tony Blair has been putting some flesh on the bones of his new Clause 4 tonight. Talking about rights and responsibilities, he said Labour would, for example, crack down on truancy, protect council tenants from noisy and abusive neighbours, and encourage every young person to do voluntary work. Here's our political editor, Michael Brunson.
Before his speech, Tony Blair met a group of young people dedicated to opposing racism and intolerance, all serving to highlight his message tonight about the responsibilities and duties of citizenship. Neither the Conservatives' "I'm all right, Jack" philosophy, he said, nor old Labour's "the state knows best" thinking had got it right. New Labour had a different approach to the concept of duty.
Duty and responsibility are essentially Labour concepts. They are at the heart of creating a strong community or society. It is the only way of making sense of the rules by which people wish to lead their lives in a modern age. Without it, freedom turns to ashes.
To give substance to all that, Labour would put forward new proposals. For example, there'd be a crackdown on truancy in schools, ensuring that parents honoured their duty to make full use of the education the state provides. There would be protection for council tenants against noisy or abusive neighbours. It was the duty of all those the state housed to behave themselves. And Labour would try to create a sort of voluntary national service scheme called citizen service, to give every young person a chance to help the community. But what of Mr. Blair's immediate strategy? Why, for example, had he told his shadow cabinet tonight to be ready for a change of Tory leadership and a possible snap election if, say, Michael Heseltine took over?
The disintegration of the Conservative Party is acute. That is not a reason, however, for the Labour Party being complacent. We will never be complacent. We carry on building that bond of trust with the British people, and we will carry on doing that from now until polling day, whenever it comes, and whoever is leading the Conservative Party.
But earlier, Mr. Heseltine had brushed aside Labour's speculation about himself.
Yes, well, they're getting pretty desperate, aren't they, to try and create news stories like that. They know perfectly well it's just absolute garbage.
The Liberal Democrats said they'd be concentrating on the forthcoming local elections, a referendum on the education cuts, they called them. In fact, those elections may play quite a part in determining the future of Mr. Major and the Conservatives. Michael Brunson, News at 10, Westminster.
ITN has learned that the government is planning to drop many of the restrictions on roadside advertising in town and country. Fast food outlets, bed and breakfasts, anyone with anything to sell to tourists might be cleared to put up signs in an American-style free-for-all. Our political correspondent Hugh Pym has our exclusive report.
If you're looking for a break from British traffic, a bite to eat perhaps, you won't find many road signs to show the way. There are tough restrictions. Only major tourist attractions can be signposted. But could British drivers soon be confronted by something like this? The forest of advertising on American highways. The answer is yes, up to a point. The government is planning to relax the rules in the UK. So, on the familiar brown signs for sites like Windsor Castle, there'd be others. Bed and breakfast, burger outlets, motels, for example, trying to entice the motorist. The very thought angers countryside campaigners.
We're appalled at the prospect of a rash of commercial and tourist signposting in the countryside along rural roads and along motorways, because this would have a damaging impact on the environment, on the quality of the environment, which many tourists and visitors come to see and enjoy.
And motoring organisations say it could all prove a dangerous distraction. Drivers, they say, have already got enough signs to worry about.
Tourist signs do have a valuable role to play, and it's certainly the fact that in this country we do need them for tourist purposes, but we have to be very careful. We've got a very compact road system. We've got a lot of traffic on them. If we're not very careful, we could seriously overload the information being presented to drivers, and that will have a serious effect on road safety.
Whitehall sources say the plan is part of the government's deregulation initiative. It's all about cutting red tape. They say the precise details of the new road sign rules will be announced soon. Hugh Pym, News at 10, Westminster.
Still to come on News at 10 tonight, new revelations on the Tokyo poison attack. Also, filling up the car of the future. It's clean and green, but where's the petrol? Goals galore in the FA Cup. Who will meet Manchester United in the semi-final? And what did the actress say about her mugging at knife point?
Liz, look up, love.
Test the luxury features on the Corsa CDX, Vauxhall said. Delegate, I say. Thomas, The electric windows. The man has a gift. The sunroof. The washing machine. I'm kidding. The CD player. La 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 la. So, Thomas, how are we going to test this sumptuous leather upholstery? Any ideas?
The Corsa from Vauxhall. The small car with the big personality.
National Lottery Instance. Forget it all for an instance.
After shaving, the alcohol in an ordinary aftershave won't put out the fire. New Old Spice Cooling Sensation contains less alcohol and a unique blend of cooling sensates that refresh and cool your face. New Old Spice Cooling Sensation turns the heat of shaving into pure freshness.
Here, you seen this ritzy new toothbrush from Oral-B? They've called it the Advantage, and it really helps remove plaque.
Yeah, and the ergonomic handle's got a mind-boggling grip.
And aren't you just gobsmacked with a power tip? It's been designed to get between teeth and behind your back teeth.
Yeah, and then there's the Action Cup. What a little winner at helping remove plaque along the gum line.
The new Advantage toothbrush from Oral-B, clinically proven to help remove plaque.
I think it's art.
Look what Daddy got me for Mother's Day, Harry.
Hold on a minute. She can't be his mum as well, can she?
Half-price bouquets at Safeway.
Vauxhall are giving away a year's free insurance on a Corsa. So with the money you save, why not buy one of these? For your friends, your family, your dogs, come back.
Welcome back. Japanese police made extraordinary discoveries today in raids on the weird religious sect being blamed for the nerve gas attack on the Tokyo underground. They took away containers of a chemical found in the underground, and 50 sect members, so weakened by fasting, had to be carried away. The sect leader broadcast an enigmatic message about a salvation plan and about being ready to die. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Michael Nicholson reports from Tokyo.
It was one of Japan's biggest troop movements in peacetime. Over 3,000 soldiers and police raided 25 locations in and around the capital, all belonging to the militant Buddhist cult Aum, who until this week's poison gassing and today's raids were people generally thought of as harmless cranks. The massive troops entered the cult's main headquarters near to Mount Fuji. It's 60 miles west of Tokyo, and there this morning many of its leaders were forcibly removed. They are among the 10,000 and more Aum disciples living in Japan, as well as New York, Bonn, and Moscow. 50 other believers, all young, had to be carried out, suffering from weeks of fasting and solitary confinement, part of Aum's strict initiation. With the troops came the Army's anti-chemical warfare unit, some of them carrying canaries to warn of gas. They were here in such numbers it confirms many's fear that Aum was involved in Monday's gas attacks. Chemicals used for the gas sarin were found at the cult's Mount Fuji complex, and at the foot of the mountain, sarin traces were found in a house used by the cult as a shrine. But the cult's leader, a 40-year-old Guru Shoka Ashihara, denies all knowledge and any part of it. Most damning for a man who denies all knowledge of this nerve gas is this extract from an article he wrote over a year ago. He writes, "As a prophecy, the first stage of my death will show traces of sarin
and other poisonous gases, predicting his own death by a nerve gas. But tonight he made a dramatic radio appeal. He said, "Die with me. It's time to carry out the salvation plan and greet death without regrets." His word is considered sacred by the thousands in the cult who worship him, and this would seem an invitation to kill themselves at his command. Michael Nicholson, News at 10, Tokyo.
Here, Derek Hatton, the former deputy leader of Liverpool City Council, has been cleared of stealing his own horse box and of making a bogus insurance claim. Manchester Crown Court also cleared David Godsell, who was accused of theft and of abetting the claim. The actress and model Liz Hurley made a flying visit to London from America today to appear as a witness in court. She described being robbed at knife point by 4 teenage girls in West London last November. ITN's Andrew Simon was in court too.
From the glitz of Manhattan, Liz Hurley flew into London to be a star prosecution witness. The trial was brought forward especially so she can attend the Oscars next week. Her entrance at Southwark Crown Court, though, was anything but glamorous, as she headed for 1.5 hours in the witness box to tell the court she was mugged at knife point. 4 young women stood accused of robbing her. 3 of them deny it. The other today changed her plea to guilty. The prosecution say she was surrounded by the young women demanding money as she returned alone to her Kensington home, which she shares with actor Hugh Grant. She told the court at first she thought it was all a joke, then said, "I looked down and saw a knife pointing at my stomach about an inch away." She said on handing over a £10 note, they all sneered and one remarked, "We can't even get some Big Macs with that." Miss Hurley, who at all times avoided any eye contact with the young women in the dock, said, "I suddenly couldn't bear having my back against the wall and pushed the girl with the knife aside." She then ran out into the road and said her carrier bag containing photographs was snatched. It was then she flagged down a white van. Before leaving with a police escort, Miss Hurley's recollections were challenged by the defence. The trial continues tomorrow, without Miss Hurley, who headed straight for New York, returning to modelling.